Hey guys, this is Eric and Sean with OzoneTCG. Today we're taking a look at YCS Hartford's top 32 results. Sky Striker, of course, won the entire event, but we want to take a look at some of the representation that we saw in top 32. Before we get into the video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and use our TCG Player affiliate link in the description below. Alrighty, so again, Sky Striker won the event, but we're going to take a look at the representation just to see kind of what we expected, what we didn't expect, and what happened in the event. Starting off, we have Sword Soul Tenyi at 7 spots, and I think Punk variants were also at 7, and branded decks were at 6 total. I think this was kind of expected to see those three decks.
Sword Soul was a front runner for the format. Yep. It got hit, but it didn't get hit hard enough for it to like just be completely killed off.
Yep, and the deck kind of techs into a more mid-range. It's still like I would still consider it a combo deck, but it's definitely plays more mid-rangey because there are variants like the Fibrex version that summons Formula Synchron to synchro either a worm on the opponent's turn or Baron to floor.
Yep.
So that's the idea. And then of course D-Barrier, basically if your deck doesn't lose a D-Barrier, it's probably okay. If it does lose to it, it has to be like Sword Soul or branded to really play through it, or if you're lucky, like Punk variants. They play both Xyz and Synchros and Therion or Adventure, so you kind of have your own plays in the main deck there. You don't need to necessarily play those. Still a ridiculous card though. Honestly, a contender for the next Forbidden in the Middle list. I think so. But otherwise, we have Fluon Rees.
They didn't get hit, unfortunately.
Didn't get hit, didn't get touched whatsoever. I kind of think most people expect this. I still don't think it's necessarily one of the best decks. Like, still good, just not one of the best decks. But that's kind of the, I would say, upper tiers of the format currently, like what people would consider like S or A and B tier, and then we kind of get a little bit below. Sky Striker, Drytron, Ignister, and DDD. I think there was also Dragon Link and an ABC Therion deck as well.
This is the first time DDD has ever topped like anything relevant.
Yeah, at least in the past almost 5 years now.
I know the Ignister player apparently got inspiration from Zohair's list, so he was a blind second Ignister player.
Yep, he played it almost card for card and just changed the Mind Control and Change of Heart. We may have the deck profile later. You guys will see that later on. Yeah, kind of interesting. I mean, this isn't out of the ordinary. I really think these decks are fine. They just don't do anything more significant besides like maybe Striker just being able to play all of the control cards like D-Barrier, like Token Collector if you really wanted to. Not necessarily that you would, but again, just being able to play like Trap Trick and a D-Barrier. Well, that happened in the finals, where you literally just went like Shizuku, set 2 pass. One of those sets was Trap Trick and a D-Barrier, and that did everything.
I agree. I think the standout things from this YCS top cut have actually been the Punk engine and the Mystic Mine.
Yep. Yeah, the Punk engine I would want to talk about first. Definitely has shown that Deer Note in really any quantity, 1 to 3, has just really accelerated the Punk engine into probably one of the best decks of the format. It is the closest that we've had to like the ridiculous combo that we've had in the past, as with this format now that doesn't play Auroradon after it's hit, because you can create quite a threatening board with like Hope Harbinger, Rose Whip, Regulus, anything like that. But being able to mill 9 cards and 4 from your opponent's deck is quite powerful, especially when you have Snow in the mix with that.
Yeah, I don't know why they separated. I guess the Synchro Punks weren't playing Adventure, even though I could have sworn I saw someone listed under it playing Adventure, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I also don't know the exact reason for separating Therion Punk.
That's its own different deck, I think, in my opinion. That one is like, the Punk cards are actually full starter cards. So like, normal summoning Ziaman and using the effect as a thing you want to do. And the other versions, you're playing Adventure cards, so you can't really do that.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. So it's like the old, the Synchro Synchro Adventure Souls deck we saw
Yeah.
last format. That's what they consider Synchro Punk and Adventure Punk.
And the Synchro and Adventure Punks, the Punk cards are just an engine, and the Therion Punk, it's like you're playing like half the deck as Punk cards, so that makes sense.
Oh, okay. I see. I didn't know that they were really differentiating between. That's cool though. I'm interested to see some of these Synchro Punk lists in Adventure. Kind of see how they're built compared to Therion, because I think Therion is a really strong variant, specifically because of the Rosewhip Regulix interaction. Guess we'll just have to see some of those profiles coming out. I don't know. This is like not unexpected, but I guess we'll talk about the elephant in the room, Mystic Mine. I hate that card. I think most people hate that card.
I wouldn't be surprised if almost every player in the Top Cup is playing Mystic Mine in some degree. I don't know. I know one of the SPF players were maining it, and I know Striker was maining it, of course.
Yep.
It's just also one of the Eldritch players were maining it because the person who played Rashani was on it in the main deck.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's gonna be a lot of Mystic Mine. Ignister had to play it, of course. That was blind second.
That is the best Ignister card. Mystic Mine's the best Striker card. Yeah, just really unfortunate that card still exists, but it definitely is what's making a lot of these decks much better. And sometimes versus Sword Soul and Despia branded, it's really hard to out at least game one without really seeing an in-engine out to it, which decks are going to probably have to adapt to that, especially for the NAWCQ. Kind of maybe play some tech cards in the main that allow you to play around mine.
I think as we go to Nats, like decks are gonna have to prepare for mine game one.
Yeah.
And actually respect it more game 2, game 3, because Despia does not like that card.
No. Neither does Sword Soul if they don't set up anything real. This reminds me of 2019 Nats. So the last in-person Nats we had where it was Striker, mine being one of the strongest decks. But instead of, like Adventure or Sword Soul, it was Salmon Great, Orcust. I know Orcust ended up, I think, winning the event, something like that, or Danger Thunder Dragon, something like that. But everyone was prepared in some capacity to play against Mystic Mine because that card is still oppressive, but even more oppressive with when Engage was at 3. But now you kind of have to, even with Mr. Runes coming out, like Mr. Runes being able to play with mine, that may be an issue later on. But people, we're gonna have to tech for that card game one. Kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. I think we might see a rise in Eldritch, to be honest. Those have main deck outs, and so does more Adventure decks, but
no.
Outside of that, it's going to be an uphill struggle. Sword Soul has a huge target on its back right now.
Yep.
D-Barrier and Token Collector both, just hard beat that deck, and then Nib, of course, might be coming back into the format, as we saw in one of the feature matches.
Yeah, we saw, I know Jesse Cotton's feature match, he was on Adventure Albaz Predaplant, brand Predaplant. Imperm Nibiru kind of just destroyed Sword Soul, unfortunately. Sword Soul player still made the correct play using Qixing Long Yuan turn 1 instead of Baron DeFleur. That's always going to be the correct play. He just happened to main Nibiru. So kind of how it is. But I definitely can see Eldritch coming back. Not really coming back, I should say. Being teched into branded builds. Even a smaller engine, like not necessarily playing the full loadout or just playing more cards in general, like a 60 card, I don't know, braided deck, because they can just play through everything. And like you said, the inherent Mystic Mine out is going to be big. That's actually going to be really important moving forward.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. The Dragon Link was playing, of course, Adventure, and so was ABC Therion, I'm sure. ABC Therion has seen a lot of, now, I wouldn't say popularity, a lot of theory going for it, and most people think that the ABC Therion version was the best. I think these results just solidify that that's definitely not the case, that the Punk version is probably going to be better.
It was the number 1 seeded deck in Swiss, but he lost in top 32. Apparently he only lost 2 games the entire time.
Interesting.
Up to it, so that's pretty good.
I think it's still a strong deck. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah. And I used to hate the ABC cards. I'll always say this. Used to hate them. Now I absolutely love them with the way they work with Regulus. Interesting to see that there were no Earth Machine decks. I don't think it's one of the strongest decks, but I still think it's probably better than like DDD. Hate to say it.
I believe there was one I saw in Zodiac. There was one like that was 8-0 or something, or 6-0. I can't remember. And then they just died out.
Yeah.
So just like all the Predaplant players died out, like the very last round, which sucks.
Yep. Yeah, I know everyone who's playing the engine. Yeah, they unfortunately did not pass the real day 2 barrier and get a top 32. Again, we didn't see any Predaplants in top 32. I'm curious to see kind of what the branded main deck looks like past this event. If we're going to see Eldritch, the Eldritch version pop up more, or if we're going to see a more teched out version. I know the Allure version has kind of taken over just to play a bunch of cards that let you go second rather than playing a bunch of hand traps. I wonder if we're going to see them playing Twin Twisters or Cosmic or Lightning Storm or even evenly match in the main deck, just to make sure you're not automatically losing to Mystic Mine. And Mystic Mine, of course, includes Demise of the Land. I hate that card, specifically because it's just so easy to get out Mystic Mine that way. It's like an extra copy of Metaverse. You can play it on your opponent's turn. That card was really clutch versus Brandon Despia in the couple of finals and semifinals feature matches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what the next YCS brings to us. I don't remember if there are any other huge events like this besides the NAWCQ, and I think there are more like European Nationals, and I think there's a South American YCS, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, there are 2 nationals before ours, and they're like, I want to say in the coming weeks.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll have to see how they adapt to the results from here. Same with if there are any other YCSs. Again, I don't remember offhand. Kind of see what people are preparing. Also, the interesting thing is that there is no European Intercontinental Championship, so we may see a lot of the European players who will travel to American events go to the NAWCQ. Now, they'll need an invite as well, but if they've played in like remote regionals, they'll probably have those too. It'll be interesting to see if we see a lot of the better European players head on over here.
That's probably what's going to end up happening.
Just to play. I could see it, honestly.
They don't have their own Nats this year, so only event they can really go to is that, or all the YCSs after.
Yeah, well, their own international, because there are still like, I don't know, actually I don't know if there's like a Germany Nationals this year. I know Belgium just concluded a couple hours ago, but I know there are individual country nationals, but there's no international or intercontinental championships for them. Or internationals, anything like that. So I guess we'll have to see what that is, see what happens. I know a lot of theory on Dueling Book and other other online sites with the entire games and how.
I think some interesting misses that I guess a few people were surprised about. There's no Salamangreat in Top Cut, which I guess people know that deck is kind of bad, low-key.
Unfortunately, yeah.
There's no Dynamorphia, which unfortunately got support in Dimension Force, and that deck is missing out on a bit. What was the last deck? It was Pendulum, of course. Pendulum was the last one. Unfortunately, Pendulum is just in a worse position right now because D-Barrier, Anti-Spell are all cards people play right now for Despia.
Yep.
So unfortunately, all 3 of those decks kind of miss. Predaplant, of course, you can add in that group of Dimension Force boosted decks. And here we are.
Yeah, I just don't think that. Unfortunately, without Electromite, that card, as much as people may not want to admit it, that just unfortunately hard carries Pendulum. But the meta also doesn't suit Pendulum very well. If it were more combo centric, maybe, but like you said, with D barrier floating around, I think that's just the worst. Worst thing against Pendulum, just not being able to really play or special summon at all. It's just so unfortunate for them, but yeah, I guess we'll just have to see how everything else stacks up. I think Salamangreat is gonna probably fall off again. Circle to 3 was nice, but it just doesn't do enough without more Gazelle.
I mean, Gazelle at 3 doesn't do it either.
Yeah.
It has to be Niv has to go. Like, by any chance, Niv has to be the one to go. Because if you play versus that card, it just does too much.
Yeah.
Or I guess the engine is just, like, outdated, too.
Yeah. I honestly, yeah. That's what it feels like. It just feels like a Cyber's toolbox now. Kind of how the deck has to be built if you want to see any kind of success with it, or just play a bunch of hand traps. But both of those versions just seem outdated, even with something like Ghibli, unfortunately. But I think I'm just excited to see what the next results are. Again, hate Mystic Mine, but now that everyone's aware of it, we'll probably see some kind of difference in deck building with it. Would not be surprised whatsoever. So let us know what you guys think in the comments section below. We're still running the giveaway, of course, so make sure you enter it by commenting on the giveaway video. Check our channel for that. If you guys have any other questions, any other comments, anything we missed, honestly, there were a lot of texts. I know we didn't talk about Droll and Lockbird. That's its own discussion video, kind of see what hand traps or texts we should play moving forward and into the month of June for 2022. And I know beginning of July or end of June, we're going to have the next side deck, side deck build pack coming out. Tactical Masters with Mr. Ruins, Valiance, and Labyrinth. We'll have to revisit it once we see. I'm also excited to see some of the reprints in the Legendary Duelist of the Deep. It has some of the Marinsa support. We'll talk about that too. Let us know what else you guys want to see in the comment section below. This is Eric and Sean with OzoneTCG. We will see you guys in the next one.